House come to order. First order of business is roll call. Clerk will unlock machines. Members will cast their presence. Green. Representative Green. Clerk will lock machine, record the roll. 64 present, 6 absent, excused. Majority being present, the House is ready to do business. House will now advance to the second order of business. Prayer by our good chaplain Tom Doherty, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance today by Caitlin Yang. Will our friends in the gallery please arise?
Today I'm stepping out on faith, and I'm going to do my sine die prayer. But I have the other one here just in case. But so if you don't do that, then we'll see what happens tomorrow. Okay. Here's a quote. This is a French proverb, actually. There is no pillow so soft as a clean conscience. How heavy is your head when you lay it down to rest at night? Knowing that we did the right things will help put our minds at ease. And 1 Corinthians 10:13, no temptation has overcome you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. And I thank the Lord for that. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this session and for all our wonderful people, our wonderful speaker, leaders, and representatives and staff. What a pleasure, dear Lord, it is to work with such fine people. And I ask you, dear Lord, to watch over them and to continue to lead them as they go to their homes. Put our minds at ease, dear Lord, knowing we worked together and did the very best we could to bring value to this year's session. Thank you, dear Lord, that even when we are tempted to say things or do things that it wouldn't be productive, that you would give us a way out. Dear Lord, I recognize that things may not have gone perfectly for everyone, but I thank you for the attitudes of understanding that prevailed. Thank you, Lord, for the blessing us with such a great cast of workers. Continue to watch over each of them. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
House come to order. House will now advance to third order of business, approval of journal. House set third order of business.
In the House of Representatives, March 29th, 2023. Mr. Speaker, we, your Committee on Judiciary, Rules, and Administration, report that we have read and approved the House Journal of the 79th Legislative Day and recommend same be adopted as corrected. Moved by Skog, seconded by Gannon.
You've heard the motion to approve the journal. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes and the journal is approved. The House will now advance to fourth order of business. Consideration of messages from the Governor and the Senate. The House set the fourth order of business.
From the Senate, March 28th, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I return herewith enrolled House Bills 244, 228, 113, 267, 300, 65, 235, 215, 291, 319, 117, 262, 322, 161, 311, 304, 324, 325, 327, 333, 335, 336, 343, 344, 345, 351, 352, 353, 354, 355, 356, 357, 359, and 360, which have been signed by the President Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bill 244, 228, 213, 267, 300, House Bill 65, 235, 215, 291, 319, 117, 262, 322, 161, 311, 304, 324, 325, 327, 333, 335, 336, 343, 344, 345, 351, 352, 353, 354, 355, 356, 357, 359, and 360 will be referred to the Judiciaries and Rules Administration Committee for delivery to the Governor.
March 28th, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I transmit herewith Senate Concurrent Resolution 108 and Senate Bill 1212, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 108 and Senate Bill 1212 be filed for first reading calendar.
March 28, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I return herewith House Bills 239, 221, 237, 284, 203, 238, 223, 288, 190, 240, 330, 142 as amended, 157, 125, 340, 310, 294, 363, and 348, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bill 239, 221, 237, 284, 203, 238, 223, 288, 190, 240, 330, 142 as amended, 157, 125, 340, 310, 294, 363, and 348 will refer to Judiciary and Rules and Administration Committee for enrolling.
March 28, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I return herewith House Bill 82, which has failed to pass the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bill 82 filed in the Office of Chief Clerk.
March 28, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I return herewith House Bill 281 as amended in the Senate, which has passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bill 281 as amended in the Senate will be held at the desk. Good gentleman from 33.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that we do concur with the changes that the Senate made and the amendments they made. What it was they took out the word, because we don't really have authorization over private school, we took out the private schools. And then they changed the charter school word to read trustees and directors of public charter schools. So that's all that was changed.
Thank you, gentlemen. If you hear the unanimous consent request, is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered, and the House will concur to the amendments of House Bill 281 as amended to the Senate, and the bill will refer to the Judiciary and Rules Administration Committee for engrossing. House will now advance to fifth order of business. Report of standing committees. The House set the fifth order of business.
In the House of Representatives, March 29, 2023. Mr. Speaker, we are Committee on Judiciary, Rules, and Administration report that we have printed House Bill 377, SCOG, Chairman.
House Bill 377 will be filed in the Office of Chief Clerk.
March 29, 2023. Mr. Speaker, we are Committee on Judiciary, Rules, and Administration report that we have enrolled House Bill 182 as amended in the Senate, 182 as amended in the Senate, 269 as amended in the Senate, 71 as amended in the Senate, 219 as amended in the Senate, and 193 as amended in the Senate. SCOG, Chairman.
House Bill 192 is amended to the Senate, 182 is amended to the Senate, 269 is amended to the Senate, 71 is amended to the Senate, 219 is amended to the Senate, and House Bill 193 is amended to the Senate. Will be signed by the Speaker and returned to the Senate for the Senate signature of the Senate President. Without objection, the House now advanced to its seventh order of business. Motion, memorials, and resolutions. The House at seventh order of business.
In the Senate, Senate Concurrent Resolution 108 by Judiciary and Rules Committee, a concurrent resolution stating legislative findings and approving fee rules of the Department of Fish and Game, the Department of Lands, and the Idaho Department of Water Resources, Idaho Water Resource Board, reviewed by the Senate Resources and Environment Committee and the House Resources and Conservation Committee with an exception.
Senate Concurrent Resolution 108 will be filed for second reading calendar. The House will now advance to the eighth order of business. First reading of references of joint bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the eighth order of business.
In the Senate, Senate Bill 1212 by Finance Committee, an act relating to the appropriation to the Workforce Development Council, appropriating additional monies to the Workforce Development Council for fiscal year 2024, authorizing additional full-time equivalent positions for fiscal year 2024, and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date.
Senate Bill 1212 will be filed for the second reading calendar. Without objection, the House now advance to 10th order of business. Second reading of bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the 10th order of business.
March 29, 2023, Senate Bill 1194 by Judiciary and Rules Committee regarding alcoholic beverages, Senate Bill 1197 by Finance Committee regarding appropriations, Department of Administration Permanent Building Fund, Senate Bill 1204 by Finance Committee regarding appropriations, Public Schools Administrators Division, Senate Bill 1207 by Finance Committee regarding appropriations, Public Schools Children's Programs Division, Senate Bill 1208 by Finance Committee regarding appropriations, Public Schools Facilities Division, Senate Bill 1209 by Finance Committee regarding appropriations, Public Schools Central Services Division, Senate Bill 1210 by Finance Committee regarding appropriations, Public Schools Educational Services for the Deaf and the Blind, Senate Bill 1211 by Finance Committee regarding appropriations.
Senate Bill 1194, 1197, 1204, 1207, 1208, 1209, 1210, and 1211 will be filed for third reading calendar. The House will now advance to 11th order of business, third reading of bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the 11th order of business. Good gentleman from 29.
Mr. Speaker, I'd ask you to put the House at ease for the majority to go into caucus.
The House will be at ease, subject to call of the chair.
Idaho in Session is sponsored by Idaho Cable Broadband Association, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise State School of Public Service, the James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research, and the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is sponsored by Idaho Cable Broadband Association, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise State School of Public Service, the James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research, and the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is sponsored by Idaho Cable Broadband Association, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise State School of Public Service, the James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research, and the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is sponsored by Idaho Cable Broadband Association, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise State School of Public Service, the James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research, and the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is sponsored by Idaho Cable Broadband Association, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise State School of Public Service, the James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research, and the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is sponsored by Idaho Cable Broadband Association, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise State School of Public Service, the James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research, and the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is sponsored by Idaho Cable Broadband Association, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise State School of Public Service, the James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research, and the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is sponsored by Idaho Cable Broadband Association, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise State School of Public Service, the James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research, and the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is sponsored by Idaho Cable Broadband Association, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise State School of Public Service, the James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research, and the Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is sponsored by Idaho Cable Broadband Association, Association of Idaho Cities, Boise State School of Public Service, the James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research, and the Idaho Public Television Endowment.
Erica, another big cheese flew off. We'll find it later. I was laughing. House come to order. Before going into order, ease, the House is in the 11th order of business. Without objection, the House will now return to the 7th order of business, motions, memorials, and resolutions. The House is at the 7th order of business. Good lady from 8. Oh, no, we don't. We go back to 11th, though. Sorry. Without objection, the House will now return to the 11th order of business. Third reading of bills and joint resolutions. Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that House Bill 369 come to the top of the third reading calendar.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered, and the House will have under consideration House Bill 369. Good lady from 34.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of House Bill 369.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, this is version 2 of the FY 2024 original appropriation for the Division of Medicaid. It includes the 5 programs that have been discussed previously, including Basic Medicaid, Enhanced Medicaid, Coordinated Medicaid, and Expansion Medicaid. In total, the budget is a little over $900 million in general funds and a little over $3 billion in federal funds for a grand total of just over $4 billion for this budget. The majority of this budget goes out in trustee and benefit claims, which is for the provision of services. These are not dollars that go directly to the individuals who are receiving the services, but instead to the individuals providing the services. And I would draw your attention to 2 line items. There's a line item for the task force that is looking at managed care that was proposed and passed by this body of $500,000. And there's also a line item that includes provider rate increases for individuals in many lines and in many professions that have not received a rate increase since the 1990s. So this is a budget that reflects the work of the JFAC committee as well as discussions with many in this body. I would be happy to stand for any questions, but I'd encourage your green light.
Thank you, good ladies. Further debate on the motion. Okay, good gentleman, 3.
To debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the good lady from 34 and the committee at JFAC for taking this back and working through the budget. I think they did some really good work here. I would ask that the committee take it back one more time and look at the other 13,000 that will be coming off the rolls as we proceed this for another 5 months. I think that would be a great savings to the state. Again, this is a historic budget. It's still the largest budget this body has ever seen, and I think we are called here to be good stewards, and I'd appreciate your red light. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Hearing none, would the good lady from 34 care to close?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and good gentlemen. While I respect this body's desire to ensure that we pass the most conservative and thoughtful budget possible, I would argue that what has been presented is the most conservative and thoughtful budget that we can provide for this fiscal year, and I look forward to the discussion in coming years on how we can make this program more sustainable and efficient and a best use of taxpayer dollars. Thank you.
Thank you, good lady. Debate is closed. Question is, shall House Bill 369 pass the House? The clerk will unlock machine. Members cast their votes. Has every member voted? Ehart, Boyle, Burns. Anyone else change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 40 ayes, 30 nays, majority having voted in favor of House Bill 369. House Bill 369 is passed the House. So correction to title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. The bill will be transmitted to the Senate. Without objection, the House will now return to the 5th order of business. Report of standing committees. The House set the 5th order of business.
In the House of Representatives, March 29th, 2023, Mr. Speaker, we are Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have enrolled House Bills 239, 221, 237, 284, 203, 238, 223, 288, 190, 240, 330, 142 as amended, 157, 125, 340, 310, 294, 363, and 348. SCOG Chairman.
House Bill 239, 221, 237, 284, 203, 238, 223, 288, 190, 240, 330. House Bill 142 is amended, 157, 125, 340, 310, 294, 363, and 348 will be signed by the Speaker and returned to the Senate for the signature of the Senate President.
March 29th, 2023, Mr. Speaker, we are Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have engrossed House Bill 281 as amended in the Senate. SCOG Chairman.
House Bill 281 will be filed for the first reading, calendar engrossed.
March 29th, 2023. Mr. Speaker, we are Committee on Judiciary Rules and Administration report that we have transmitted enrolled House Bills 244, 228, 113, 267, 300, 65, 235, 215, 291, 319, 117, 262, 322, 161, 311, 304, 324, 325, 327, 333, 335, 336, 343, 344, 345, 351, 352, 353, 354, 355, 356, 357, 359, and 360 to the Governor at 9:40 a.m. as of this date, March 29th, 2023. SCOG Chairman.
Without objection, the House will now advance the eighth order of business. First reading and references to bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the eighth order of business.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill 378 by Blanksma, an act relating to the Commercial Property Assessed Capital Expenditure Act, amending Title 67 Idaho Code by the addition of a new Chapter 38 Title 67 Idaho Code to establish a short title, to provide legislative findings and intent, to define terms, to authorize CPACE voluntary special assessments by a local government, to authorize a local government to establish a CPACE program, to provide procedures to establish a CPACE program, to provide CPACE program requirements, to provide for a CPACE application and review process, to provide for authorized actions by a property owner, to require the recordation of certain documents, to provide for the effective recording, to provide for contracts with other governmental entities, to authorize joint implementation or administration, to prohibit certain actions by a local government, and to prohibit any use of full faith and credit, providing severability and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date.
House Bill 378 will be sent to the Judiciary and Rules and Administration Committee for printing. House will now advance to the ninth order of business. First reading of engrossed House bills. The House is at the ninth order of business.
March 29th, 2023, House Bill 281 as amended in the Senate by Education Committee regarding education.
House Bill 281 as amended in the Senate will be filed for the second reading calendar. Without objection, the House will now advance to the 15th order of business. Announcements. Are there announcements? Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll make an announcement. I know there's others, and then later we'll make a motion. But the announcement is we are going to go ahead and recess now and come back at 2, because we've got a committee that's got to move at 1. And so I guess adjust your schedules accordingly. We're waiting on Senate bills to come on over. So they're moving some stuff, and then we're still negotiating on some fairly obvious things. So thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further announcements. Gentleman from 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good ladies and gentlemen, you should have received in your mailbox today an invitation for a lunch today with the American Legislative Exchange Council, and some confusing emails from me in your email box as well as doing that. But you can go down and join us at 11, but we do have the room from 11 to 1. If you prefer to do lunch at noon, it'll be there as well. I believe the presentation will start around noon as well, but I invite you to come down, join us, and find a little bit more about ALEC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jump once. Further announcements. Good lady from 11.
Thank you, Speaker, for an announcement to
Lady has floor to announce.
House Education. If you will come and meet in 10 minutes after we recess. We just have 2 things to finish off and some minutes to approve. 10 minutes after we recess. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Further announcement. Jump from 1.
Mr. Speaker, I forgot. It is in EW 29, our new little conference area in the pit down there in the basement. Thank you.
Thank you, good gentlemen. Further announcement. Good jump 13.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House State Affairs will meet at 1 o'clock today to take up House Bill 374, which is dealing with abortion.
Thank you, good gentlemen. Further announcements. Clerk may read. Nothing to read. Oh, we're ready to go. Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move the House recess until 2 p.m. this afternoon.
Lady from 18.
Second the motion.
Thank you, good ladies. You've heard the motion that the House recess until 2 p.m. this afternoon. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passed. The House is recessed until 2. House come to order. Clerk will not machine. Members will record their presence. Birch. I think we've got everybody. Clerk will lock machine, record the roll. 65 present, 5 absent, excused, more than a majority being present. The House is ready to do business. The foregoing at ease. The House was in the good gentleman from 1.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to ask unanimous consent to change my vote on House Bill 369. From a no to a yes.
Unanimous consent has been requested.
369, is that what we did?
It doesn't change the outcome of the vote.
It's gone. I don't have it anymore, so it's too late. It's been transmitted.
Good gentlemen, the bill has been transmitted to the Senate, so it's too far along. We cannot do that because it's in the Senate already. I apologize.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Speaker.
good gentlemen. The House will now return to the fourth order of business. Consideration of message from the Governor, Senate, to House at the fourth order of business.
From the Office of the Governor, March 28, 2023. Dear Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to advise you that I have signed on March 21, 2023, and am transmitting to the Secretary of State the following House bills to wit: House Bills 66 as amended in the Senate and 116 as amended in the Senate. Sincerely, Brad Little, Governor of Idaho. March 29, 2023. Dear Mr. Speaker, I have the honor to advise you that I have signed on March 28, 2023, and am transmitting to the Secretary of State the following House bills to wit: House Bill 24, sincerely Brad Little, Governor of Idaho. From the Senate, March 29, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I transmit herewith enrolled Senate Bills 1181, 1182, 1183, 1184, 1189, 1190, 1192, 1193, and 1196 for the signature of the Speaker, Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
Senate Bill 1181, 1182, 1183, 1184, 1189, 1190, 1192, 1193, 1196 will be signed by the Speaker and returned to the Senate.
March 29, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I transmit herewith Senate Bills 1168 and 1158 as amended, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
Senate Bill 1168 and 1158 as amended will be filed for first read counter.
March 29, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I return herewith House Bills 230, 287, and 326, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bill 230 and 287 and 326 will be referred to Judiciary and Rules Committee for enrolling.
March 29, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I return herewith House Bills 120 as amended in the Senate, 286 as amended in the Senate, 166 as amended in the Senate, 174 as amended in the Senate, and 295 as amended in the Senate, which have passed the Senate. Novak, Secretary of the Senate.
House Bill 120 is amended in the Senate, 286 is amended in the Senate, 166 is amended in the Senate, 174 is amended in the Senate, and 295 is amended in the Senate will be held at the desk. Good lady from 9.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I ask which one of these two we're doing?
120 as amended in the Senate, good lady.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So 120 is the oil and gas bill. And what they amended was how the governor would pick these people. So before it was 2 members who had knowledge of oil and gas out of the 4 that he gets to choose. And now those 2 members are going to be someone from the county that does not have an actual lease. So they own the oil and gas rights. They just don't have a lease with a company. And the other person would be someone who was knowledgeable on land use issues, and they have to have been knowledgeable for 5 years. So I'm not quite sure if that means they're 6 years old or they had been in some kind of land business for 5 years or what, but that's what the Senate wanted, and so I would ask concurrence.
Thank you, good lady. Unanimous consent has been requested to concur to the Senate amendments of House Bill 120 as amended in the Senate. Is there an objection? Hearing none, the House does concur now with the Senate amendments to House Bill 120 as amended in the Senate. The gentleman from 16.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have amendments back on House Bill 166. This bill dealt with accessory dwelling units. Previously, this bill preempted both HOAs and municipal governments from outright banning accessory dwelling units. The amendments that have come back only apply to HOAs. So these are quasi-friendly amendments. Depending on what side you're on. It also expressly provides for some rights for HOAs and expounds on the definition. I would appreciate your concurrence, so I would ask unanimous consent that the House do now concur in the Senate amendments to House Bill 166.
Thank you, good gentlemen. You've heard the unanimous consent request. Is there objection? Hearing none, the House does now concur to the Senate amendments to House Bill 166. We're back to you, good lady from 9.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So the Senate did a fantastic, actually, amendment on this one, 174. This is about guidance
Mark
documents.
that on your calendar, good lady.
So this bill made it clear that guidance and policy of the agencies does not have the force and effect of law. Also in this, it said, unlike administrative rules. So it was implying administrative rules have the force and effect of law. And so it was actually the good leader over there on the other side of the rotunda who suggested that be removed. So I said, absolutely. So I would ask unanimous consent that we concur.
Thank you, good lady. You've heard the unanimous consent that the House now concur with the Senate amendments to House Bill 174. Are there any objections? Hearing none, then, the House does now concur with the Senate amendments to House Bill 174. Good gentleman, 14.
Mr. Speaker,
Gentleman, 14.
I ask unanimous consent that the House do concur with Senate amendments to House Bill 295. And those changes in 295, it was wording in the body where we removed the discussions on banks and financial institutions and inserted payment networks, so it focused on the credit card companies.
Thank you, gentlemen. You've heard the unanimous consent request. Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered, and the House does now concur to the Senate amendments to House Bill 295. House Bill 120 is amended to the Senate, 166 is amended to the Senate, 174 is amended to the Senate, 295 is amended to the Senate. Will refer to Judiciary and Rules and Administration Committee for engrossing. The House will now advance the fifth order of business. Report of standing committees. The House is at the fifth order of business.
In the House of Representatives, March 29, 2023, Mr. Speaker, we are Committee on Judiciary, Rules, and Administration report that we have printed House Bill 378, SCOG, Chairman.
House Bill 378 will file in the Office of Chief Clerk.
March 29, 2023, Mr. Speaker, we are Committee on Judiciary, Rules, and Administration report that we have enrolled House Bills 230, 287, and 326, SCOG, Chairman.
House Bill 330, 287, and 326 will be signed by the Speaker and returned to the Senate for the signature of the Senate President.
March 29, 2023, Mr. Speaker, we are Committee on Education report that we have had under consideration House Concurrent Resolution 17 and Senate Concurrent Resolution 107 and recommend that they do pass. Yamamoto, Chairman.
House Concurrent Resolution 17 and Senate Concurrent Resolution 107 be filed for the second reading calendar.
March 29, 2023, Mr. Speaker, we are Committee on State Affairs report that we have had under consideration House Bill 374 and recommend that it do pass. Crane, Chairman.
House Bill 374 will be filed for the second reading calendar. Without objection, the House now advances to the eighth order of business, introduction, first reading, and references of bills and joint resolutions. The House is at the eighth order of business.
In the House of Representatives, House Bill 379 by Gannon and Tanner, an act relating to real property assessments, amending Section 63208 Idaho Code to revise provisions regarding real property assessments, amending Section 63301A Idaho Code to revise provisions regarding the new construction rule and providing an effective date.
House Bill 379 referred to the Judiciary and Rules Administration Committee for printing.
In the Senate, Senate Bill 1168 by Finance Committee, an act relating to the appropriation to the judicial branch, appropriating monies to the judicial branch for fiscal year 2024, exempting the appropriation from object and program transfer limitations, providing requirements for retirement contributions, providing reappropriation authority, and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date. Senate Bill 1158 as amended by Judiciary and Rules Committee, an act relating to judgments and civil actions, amending Section 11605 Idaho Code to revise a provision regarding an exemption for certain motor vehicles and declaring an emergency and providing an effective date.
Senate Bill 1168 will be filed with second reading calendar. Senate Bill 1158 as amended will refer to the Judiciary and Rules and Administration Committee. Without objection, the House will now advance to the seventh order of business, motions, memorials, and resolutions. The House at the seventh order of business. Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for a privilege.
Good lady has the floor for a privilege.
All right. I'm going to ask the Speaker to go at ease at some point here in the next couple of seconds. What I would like you to please do is look at your second reading calendar. It's our intention to run Senate Bill 1204, Senate Bill 1208, and Senate Bill 1210, as well as House Bill 374 that came upstairs from State Affairs. So the intention is to go at ease for a period of time so you make sure that you're familiar with all the legislation. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I'd ask you to put the House at ease at the call of the chair.
Thank you. Be House meeting, subject to call of the chair. Stay close, please.
Idaho in Session is brought to you by Boise State University School of Public Service, the Association for Idaho Cities, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Cable Broadband Association, University of Idaho James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research. Additional funding provided by Friends of Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is brought to you by Boise State University School of Public Service, the Association for Idaho Cities, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Cable Broadband Association, University of Idaho James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research. Additional funding provided by Friends of Idaho Public Television Endowment. Idaho in Session is brought to you by Boise State University School of Public Service, the Association for Idaho Cities, Union Pacific Foundation, Idaho Cable Broadband Association, University of Idaho James A. and Louise McClure Center for Public Policy Research. Additional funding provided by Friends of Idaho Public Television Endowment.
House be in order. Before going at ease, the House was in the 7th order of business. The House is in the 7th order of business. Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to suspend any rules interfering with immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1204.
Good lady from 18.
I second the motion.
Thank you, good lady. This is a non-debatable motion, requires 2/3 of the body to pass. Question is, shall the House suspend rules on Senate Bill 1204? The clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Scott, Representative Scott. Don't be moving. Honoring turkey. Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 68 present, 2 absent excused. More than 2/3 of the body having supported the motion. The rules are suspended and the House will have under consideration Senate Bill 1204. Good lady from 32.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense with further reading of Senate Bill 1204.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor to vet the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I ask unanimous consent to refer to pending legislation?
Unanimous consent has been requested to refer to pending legislation. Is there objection? Hearing none, the lady may refer to pending legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is the first budget of 7 budgets that will come to you. I was hoping all 7 of them would roll at one time so you could get the big picture. That's not going to happen. The body across the rotunda is hanging on to a couple of them. So we're gonna run a couple today. And I have provided a handout to you that does provide you that big picture. It's in your email, but I wanted you to have the hard copy as well. You can see the summary on the front. And then on the back, you'll see the 7 different divisions. This first bill, Senate Bill 1204, is the Division of Administrators. This pays for superintendents, principals, etc. So with that, Mr. Speaker, Senate Bill 1204 is the first of the public school budgets. And as I mentioned, this provides salaries and benefits for superintendents and administrators in our school districts and charter schools. This is essentially a maintenance budget with a 4% increase for their salaries. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but would ask for your green light on this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, lady. You've heard the motions. Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 25.
Would the good lady from
32.
30 stand for a question?
Good lady yield?
The lady yields.
Lady yields.
I've noticed in several of these budget bills, there's a mention down here that with returning to the enrollment from running from enrollment back to ADA, that they show a reduction in the number of units. I'm concerned about the math, where it shows only 91 units. That's only 1/2. That's only 0.5%, not 5%, but 0.5% reduction. My district is telling me that they're going to lose 20 just Twin Falls school districts. I was wondering if you could speak to that portion and where the math comes from on that. I'd appreciate it.
Delay 32.
Mr. Speaker, a good gentleman from
25.
25. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. One, I would point out it's impossible for any district to lose any money under this budget when you're getting $380 million new. Two, the bill that was coming to change to enrollment was not accepted. That was included in a new funding formula bill, and the groups involved in reviewing that were not okay with that. So that's how we were going to move to enrollment. The numbers you will find in this budget come from the State Department of Education, which estimated the impact to be at $23 million. A portion of that is found in this administrator's budget, but the bigger portion will be found in the teacher's budget and the operations budget.
Hey, good lady. Gentleman 25.
Comment, for Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
The word I'm hearing is that the districts are going to be short about $100 million if the change from enrollment to ADA, which just about effectively wipes out the discretionary funds that we're adding to them. And so I'm not sure we're actually going to be adding $330 million. I think it's going to be more like $200 million, and that may be enough for some of you. It's not enough for me. Okay, because they're talking, if my district, Twin Falls School District alone, is losing 20 units because with the funding change, they're not going to be able to do the things we're expecting to do with the money they're going to have. So I can't believe I would be voting no on an education budget, but I'm still making up my mind. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, for debate on the motion. Is there further debate on the motion? Hearing none. Good lady 32, care to close the debate?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There are often many narratives running around this building, some based in fact, some not. These are the best numbers we have, and they came from the State Department of Education. I would ask you to support this budget, and we'll have to have that policy discussion on attendance versus enrollment another time. We had the opportunity to have it this year, and it was rejected. So this is the budget moving forward, and it will be under attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, lady. Debate is closed. Question initial. Senate Bill 1204 passed the House. Clerk will knock machine, and the members cast their votes. Has every member voted? Ehart. Matthias. The members change their vote. Clerk will lock machine and record the roll. 52 ayes, 17 nays, 1 absent and excused, majority having voted in favor of Senate Bill 1204. Senate Bill 1204 is passed House. Correction title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. The bill be transmitted to the Senate. Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that the roll call used for the suspension of rules on Senate Bill 1204 now be used for the suspension of rules on Senate Bill 1208, making it possible for the immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1208.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the roll call used, suspension of rules on Senate Bill 1204 with 68 ayes, 2 absent and excused. The rules are suspended and the House will have under consideration Senate Bill 1208. Good gentleman from 24 with the awesome Tabasco tie on.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent. This is kind of odd for me. To suspend for the reading of Senate 1208.
Caught me off guard. I was waiting for something else.
Yeah, but I was speechless in a way.
Yeah, you beat me at it. Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good gentleman has the floor. Debate the bill.
Thank you. This is the public schools facilities budgets. This is one of the budgets that was mentioned before. This is a maintenance budget. The requirements for this budget are set in Idaho code, so it's automatic. It's not something that we do to it or amend it or anything else. This is set in code. So it provides for public school facility maintenance costs. There's a formula for that. and it provides for support of bond levy equalization program, and there's a formula for that. So it's a pretty simple process. I'd ask your support, green light for this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, good gentleman. Good gentleman from 12.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just declare Rule 80.
Your declaration will be noted in the Journal, good gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Gentleman 26.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for a question for the good gentleman from District 24, or if he needs a lifeline, potentially the good lady from District 32.
He doesn't need a lifeline. The gentleman from 24 yield to a question. Tell him no.
Yes.
The gentleman yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good gentleman, do you know why there is a just shy of $2 million decrease in the bond levy equalization in fiscal year 24 versus fiscal year 23?
Gentleman 24.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good gentleman, oddly enough, I do.
Okay.
I'm not accustomed to that either. These are based on the levies that are out there, and then there's a formula that they go through that provides the money that comes into this. And so there were less levies out there, so there's less money that comes back through this formula.
Okay.
The total amounts of them.
Gentleman 26.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, good gentleman. That's the answer I was looking for.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion. Hearing none, debate is closed. Question is, shall Senate Bill 1208 pass the House? Clerk will unlock the machine and the members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does any member wish to change their vote? Rebel? Clerk will lock the machine, record the roll. 68 ayes, 2 absent, excused, majority having voted in favor of Senate Bill 1208. Senate Bill 1208 is passed the House. Is there a correction to title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. Bill will be transferred to the Senate. Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that the roll call used for suspension of rules on Senate Bill 1204 now be used for suspension of rules on Senate Bill 1210, making it possible for the immediate consideration of Senate Bill 1210.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the roll call used for the suspension of rules on Senate Bill 1204 with 68 ayes, 2 absent, excused. The rules are suspended and the House will have under consideration Senate Bill 1210. Good gentleman 24.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request unanimous agreement to withhold recitation, short term that way, of reading of Senate 1210.
That was more along what I thought you would do. Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the gentleman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is for the public schools. It's for the Idaho School of the Deaf and Blind. The School of the Deaf and Blind is not included with all of the other public schools and charters and everything else. It's an entity of its own. So each budget session, when we come through this, you find an independent budget for the deaf and blind. There's 3 line items on here. One of them is a career ladder equivalence. So as the career ladder is automated for all the rest of the schools, there needs to be a specific budget item to match up the career ladder with the teachers within the deaf and blind school. There was also line item number 2 is a personnel salary adjustment. And same situation here. There was an adjustment made in 2023, and the second half of that is occurring this year in 2024. And again, that's the match that up with the career ladder. There is a third one, which is a career ladder change. This is what came through in the governor's recommendation for the change in the cell increase within the ladder. This is providing that same increase that happened for public schools within the School of the Deaf and Blind. So that gets that up. Their population has grown. They're going through the same challenges as everyone else in terms of inflation, fuel, Their local student population has increased, and their outreach population, they have about 2,250 around the state. And so there's a lot of travel involved, there's a lot of flight involved for kids going back and forth, there's travel for teachers, for special ed, for the help that goes out and training and whatnot in that area. So that's where these increases come from. This is a good sound budget. These are things that are required. These are things that are needed. One of the things that are a challenge is in deaf and blind, you have to have special ed teachers, but they have to have additional skills. They have to be able to sign. They have to be able to deal with testing with both sight, with hearing, and the other thing is that they need to be in Gooding and Idaho, and evidently Gooding isn't the destination of a lot of people. Oddly enough, I find Gooding a very pleasant place. But those are the challenges, just like we've seen in a lot of these other budgets, that it takes to get special skills, special training to come into an area and get them in there. So I would ask your support for this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further motions, further debate on the motion. Hearing none, raise closed. Question is, shall Senate Bill 1210 pass the House? Clerk will unlock the machine and members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Does anybody wish to change their vote? Clerk will lock the machine and record the roll. 69 ayes, 1 absent, excused. Majority having voted in favor of Senate Bill 1210. Senate Bill 1210 has passed the House. Is there a correction title?
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. Bill will be transmitted to the Senate. Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent that the roll call used for suspension of rules on Senate Bill 1204 now be used for the suspension of rules on House Bill 374, making it possible for the immediate consideration of House Bill 374.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the roll call used suspension of rules on Senate Bill 1204, where 68 ayes, 2 absent, excused. The rules are suspended. The House will have under consideration House Bill 374. Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask that we suspend further reading, ask unanimous consent that we suspend further reading of House Bill 374.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, the good lady has the floor to present the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a bill that adds clarifying language with regard to Idaho abortion law. There's language added in Idaho Code 18604 to more clearly state what is not defined as an abortion. Those include, the new inclusions are the removal of a dead unborn child, the removal of an ectopic or molar pregnancy, and the treatment of a woman who is no longer pregnant. The definition for pregnant is already existing in code under sub 11 if you'd like to look that up. It removes the original trigger language and renames the title the Defense of Life Act. It removes the affirmative defense component in favor of an objective standard. It outlines the reporting requirement in case of rape or incest, where it holds the exceptions to the first trimester. The report is a confidential part of the medical record subject to privacy laws. And it makes a redacted report available to the person reporting within 72 hours. And it also has a language that says that it must be redacted as necessary to avoid interfering with an ongoing investigation. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I would ask for your green light.
Thank you, good lady. Further motions, further debate on the motion. Gentleman 17.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate against the bill.
Gentleman has the floor to debate against the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, we see what's happening in Bonner County, where the Bonner County Hospital is closing its maternity ward. We saw, many of you have probably seen Dr. Cooper's opinion that's been widely circulated where she's leaving. Today in committee we heard from doctors and others that yes, they're having trouble recruiting medical students and doctors to Idaho. This bill doesn't help. This bill doesn't address the issue that needs to be addressed, and that is the serious complications that can occur in a pregnancy which are discouraged and treatment of which is discouraged by the contents of this bill, such as up to 10 years in prison if there is a violation. Idaho has always had some difficulty attracting doctors to our state. This isn't anything new. And in fact, 20 years ago or so, we passed limitations on liability of doctors and set up a procedure just for physicians so that they would be less subject to medical malpractice suits. Now we are going the opposite direction and saying with these restrictive laws that have wiggle room in them, in the sense that a doctor doesn't necessarily know whether an overzealous prosecutor might decide to take a case and go after them because of a medical decision they have made. In the bill, on page 3, lines 13 through 15, it says, the physician determined in his good faith medical judgment and based on the facts known to the physician at the time that the abortion was necessary to prevent the death of the pregnant woman. Okay, well there's some subjective in there. Is a physician acting in good faith or not in good faith? Some overzealous prosecutor would say, based on these facts, no way could that doctor be acting in good faith. There's wiggle room. And that's not good, because then our doctors are not sure what to do. They have to have, when we start passing laws like this, especially with criminal penalties, we discourage doctors from coming to this state. And think about it for a minute. Okay, if you have a beef with your doctor and you think the doctor didn't make the right decision, didn't make it in, say, good faith, you've got a remedy already. There are plenty of lawyers out there that will give you a remedy. But we're going to step beyond and saying in this bill, prosecution. We're going to get the prosecutor out. And you know what? If you lose your case, even if you win your case, Doc, you've got a bundle of attorney's fees you got to pay to your criminal defense lawyer. You don't recover attorney's fees in a criminal case. Now that's not fair. We had some language in previous legislation that might have helped, but it's not in this one. In fact, in this legislation, there's nothing about the health of the woman.
Mr. Speaker, point of order.
Good lady.
The good gentleman did not ask to refer to previous legislation in his debate.
Good point, good lady. Would you like to ask unanimous consent to refer to previous legislation?
No, Mr. Speaker, I'm done. I wasn't going to read the previous legislation.
Well,
I'm just going to say there's nothing in here about the health of the mother. Whichever, I mean, that's the result. And that is a real omission in this bill. Now, some of the procedures that are not addressed in this bill are a procedure called anencephaly. And that's a procedure where a fetus does not have a brain.
Mr. Speaker.
Good gentleman from 29.
Most of the debate that I've been hearing is not what are the amendments in this bill. So I would ask that he stays on what this bill is and the amendments in this bill.
Good gentleman's comments are well taken. Be careful that we stay to the bill and don't get off. And it is about abortion, so you've got some leeway there, but just be careful.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I think it's important to note what isn't in this bill, in these amendments, what they have omitted, what you left out.
Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman 29.
When we start getting into that, we're impugning what could have been or what motives could have been. We're going down a dangerous path. So we could all speculate what could be in any bill. We can't go there.
I agree, good gentlemen. And if we start doing that, we're going to do that with every bill. Well, we could have done this, we could have done that. Keep it to the bill at hand, which is what we have.
Okay.
And so try to not talk about what could have been, talk about what is.
Okay. Well, let me just review some of the problems that occur in a pregnancy that would need to be addressed, and you can, and members can decide if they are addressed in the three very narrow exceptions to abortions, which are described in lines 22 through 24 of page 1 of the bill. We have cancer treatment. We have serious infections such as staph infection. We have a fetus that is deformed, seriously deformed. We have diabetes. All those kinds of treatments can cause a serious complication for the fetus and a serious problem in giving medical advice. And we heard from the doctors, from a doctor in our committee in detail about those kinds of situations. And I don't know if they don't appear, you can just take a look and see if they're in there, lines 22 through 24. And I would point out that at least one of those, the ectopic or the molar pregnancy, was addressed in the Idaho Supreme Court decision, and so we're really just stating what the law is already. That is not adequate to keep doctors in this state, is not adequate to give the advice to women that they need to have from the doctor that they have confidence in. This bill does address affirmative defense. An affirmative defense is one where is a legal defense that you raise as a defense to the charge that the prosecutor makes. And that only needs to be made by a preponderance of the evidence, maybe not even that much, sometimes prima facie case. In other words, you say you got a prima facie case, then you've got an affirmative, your affirmative defense, and the prosecutor will then have to respond to that by proving that you have, by proving beyond a reasonable doubt that your affirmative defense isn't any good. So when you get rid of the affirmative defense, yes, it does a little something, but it's not that significant, and certainly not that significant enough that we're going to keep doctors in this state and that we're going to be able to attract doctors in this state and give all Idaho citizens the medical treatment that they deserve and need. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Further debate on the motion. Good lady from 19.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To declare a Rule 80 and debate the bill.
Good lady's declaration will be noted, and the good lady has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think it's already been covered that this bill doesn't cover the things that physicians have been asking for, the ability to treat health-threatening, future fertility-threatening, lifelong disability-threatening conditions. I'd also point out that this bill leaves us kind of deliberately afoul of EMTALA. If you're not familiar with EMTALA, this is federal legislation signed by Ronald Reagan that requires that hospitals that serve Medicare patients and that have emergency departments have to provide stabilizing treatment to anyone who comes in the ED with an emergency condition. And that means the standard level of care. It means the treatment that that patient requires to protect their health. The good gentleman from 17, I think, went over a lot of reasons why this bill is problematic and inadequate. I just want to talk about why this is personal. This is personal to me, and I think personal to all of us on many levels. I've shared on this House floor that my great-grandmother died of a self-induced abortion just down the street at St. Luke's about 100 years ago. But that's not what I'm thinking about right now. I'm thinking about my future. I'm thinking about my family's future. I'm thinking about my husband, who's an internal medicine doc and receives, patients at the hospital who could have a serious condition and also be pregnant. And this law could leave him in quite a bind and perhaps no OB-GYN to refer to. But I'm thinking more about my family in the terms of how we talk about building in Idaho where our kids can put down their roots and stay. And as a fourth-generation Idahoan and a mom, I want that too. I grew up 1 mile from this building, and I went away, as many 18-year-olds do, for educational and professional opportunities that I was extremely fortunate to have. I got to live and work all over the world. But after I had my first child, my first daughter, I knew I wanted to come back here, come back home to Idaho. And I called up my mom and said, "How much free childcare can you give us?" And she said, 24/7. And so that was a good deal. So we came, and we live just a few blocks from my parents. My dad's probably on his way to pick up my daughter from school right now. And my seventh grader's probably already there hanging out. They're the glue that holds us together and lets me do what I can do, what I do here. I've got 3 brothers. They all live in town with their families, and every holiday and every birthday we get to be together. And just family is everything. And so that's why I'm so torn today, because my parents have done so much for me. I need to be here. I need to be here for them as they age, when they age. I don't think they'd admit that they're aging yet. But I also want to be close to my children as they grow up and become adults. And I want to be there if, God willing, I get to have grandkids someday. And I think my mom would say that she paid it forward, all that she and my dad did for us, and I want to do that for my grandkids. But I can't encourage my 2 daughters to settle in Idaho with the laws we have on the books. I would be terrified to have my daughters try to carry a pregnancy here. This is not a safe place to be pregnant. I think this statute is tearing families apart and is pushing our OB-GYNs out of state, and this bill does nothing to change that. I declared a Rule 80 because I'm a person with a uterus of childbearing age. And if you care about those of us in this position, I urge you to do much better than this.
Further debate on the motion? Hearing none. Would the good gentleman from 15?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This bill is telling Idaho's medical profession, take 2 aspirin and call us next year, or maybe after the next general election. We must do a better job of protecting Idaho's medical profession and our doctors than this. And I will not support this bill that does nothing to fix the anti-doctor laws that we have on the books today.
Further debate. Good lady from 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Oh, 18. I'm sorry.
He's looking at me. Good lady from 18. Would the good lady like to debate the bill?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The good lady would like to debate the bill.
Lady has the floor to debate the bill.
I've been given 30 minutes to compose myself and to be back up here again, to be before you and speak about this bill. And in those 30 minutes, my email were flooded with testimonies from people speaking their truth about their struggles in their pregnancies, about decisions that they had to make, decisions between them and their doctor. In those 30 minutes, I received text messages from people confiding in me about what they went through to bring their little babies into this world, and the tough discussions that they had to have with their doctors. And in 30 minutes, I have to be back before you to provide my own testimony, my own debate, on why it is we're not doing enough for Idaho women. The laws on the books now provide nothing for our Idaho women. Women are forced to make incredible decisions that they do not want to make with doctors that they trust their lives in. In my pregnancy, I was so lucky to be able to bring my little boy into this world, but not before I had my own struggles. The 20-week scan that all of us women have had to sit through, I remember vividly sitting there and squinting and counting the toes and the fingers and the limbs of my baby and knowing that I was going to be able to bring my little baby boy into this world. And then moments later, having my doctor come to me and give me that hug that tells me we're going to be okay. But that same doctor has had to give hugs to women who, because of their circumstances, were going to lose their baby. Or that were going to be forced. And we are forcing women in Idaho right now to carry non-viable pregnancies to term because of the laws on the books. And this law before us does not fix it. Fast forward in my pregnancy, and I had to sit with my doctor when I developed preeclampsia to make a decision whether or not to carry my baby to term and risk my health or have my baby early. And I was lucky because it was at the end of my pregnancy, but not before I was incredibly sick. And at that moment, with that conversation with that doctor, I didn't invite any of you into that room to help me have that discussion because you don't belong there. We do not belong in that room between the mom and the doctor. That is not our place. We don't deserve to be there. The doctor deserves to call the shots. This law before us isn't the fix that we all proclaim it to be. This law has the potential to be so much more to protect the health of the women. Without a fix for the health of the women, our women run the chance of losing their fertility, not being able to bring a little baby into the world in the future, because we didn't do enough. So a decision today is a decision that reaffirms that we are not looking out for the health of Idaho women. And we have a shot to make that decision. We have a shot to fix our laws on the book. Because years ago, when we passed the first trigger law, it was cloudy. We weren't certain what the law said, but the courts have now told us the laws do not protect the health of the women. They did not protect the life of the women. We're willing to fix the life of the woman, but are we willing to fix the health of the woman? We're not doing that with this bill. So a decision today, you are making a decision knowing fair well that the health of the woman is not covered, and that our women are going to have to sit there and make incredibly tough decisions. Because mind you, we want to bring little babies into this world. I wanted to bring my little boy into this world, and I was so lucky to do it. But not every other woman in Idaho has that chance. I ask you, really consider what your vote is today. And I know it's incredibly tough because our physicians are just asking for a sliver of hope. They're asking to be able to provide adequate medical care to their patients. But we don't go far enough, and this bill does not do that.
Thank you, good ladies. Further debate on the motion. Good lady 30.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate the bill.
Good lady has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, I'd like to just kind of bring us back to the topic at hand, which is abortion. Abortion is terminating the life of an unborn child. I don't want to belittle in any way the difficulty of some of the decisions that have to be made. Medicine is an art. My dad's a family practice doc. I've got a sister that's an OB. I've got all kinds of medical people in my family, and I hear the stories. It's a challenge sometimes to make tough calls. And the question so many times is, what's the best way to save a life? And sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we don't, and it's heartbreaking. But this bill asks doctors to make a similar decision not different from other medical decisions that get made every day. You know, it's kind of interesting to me to think about the difference and the challenge that comes with addressing this issue post-Roe, as opposed to when Roe went into effect. Before Roe versus Wade was handed down, many of the things that we're talking about today wouldn't have even been known until the child was born. There was no question about delivering a baby with birth defects. You just had a baby, and then you did the best you could to take care of it. In some ways, having the technology that we have takes away some of the gift of being able to wait and deal with whatever comes. And yet, in other ways, it can be a great blessing when it allows us to make a difference for good. You know, the real reason that we have abortion laws on the books is that, unlike the good lady from 18, unfortunately, there are a lot of people in this world who do not value the life of a baby in the same way that many of us do. And so we find ourselves writing laws not because we have an interest in getting between a woman and her doctor, but because we have an interest in standing between a baby and a suction machine that can tear their limbs off, or a knife, or something that can crush their head. Just last year, I carried legislation that amended existing law at the time, and I can't read to you from the existing statute because what I'd like to refer to is the language that we removed. So I'll tell you some of the reasons that were listed in our statute, which were adopted at the time Roe was handed down, which include stress, potential stress, an unwanted child, the fact that the mother was unwed, or economic reasons, because the family would have a difficult time caring for the child. These were ideas that were actually codified as good reasons to kill a baby. That is why we're having this discussion. This bill is a step in the right direction. There are still unanswered questions. There are still things that this body is going to have to struggle with. But it is a good bill. And I think one of the best things about it is that it should put some rest to some of the rumors that have been flying around out there, such as the idea that we can't address even an ectopic pregnancy under our existing statute, which has never been the case, but this legislation clarifies things like that. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we go forward, I appreciate so much the thoughts that have been shared today, and I look forward to a deeper conversation about a really important issue.
For debate on the motion, the gentleman from 25.
Mr. Speaker, to debate the bill.
Gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
I'm torn. I really am torn. I do not believe in elective abortions. I've made that clear. But I also think that the law we have on the books is not a good law. I will relate a personal, not personal to me, but a friend of mine, one of my best friends from high school, whose daughter is currently in the residency in San Jose, came through the WWAMI program before we required him to come back. She's an OBGYN in San Jose. She had made the decision to come back to Boise. She had actually been in conversations with a group here to come back to Boise. She graduated from Capitol High School, come back home. Her parents live here. And then Roe versus Wade got overturned, and their trigger law became law, and she's no longer coming back to Idaho. She's going to practice on the left coast somewhere where she feels protected. I don't think this bill's going to protect her as much as she needs to come back. I'm almost sure of it. I haven't been able to reach her yet to talk to her about it and tell her what's in the bill, but I'm pretty certain it doesn't have enough for her to come back. That's the problem I'm concerned about. Our best and brightest in these fields are not coming back to Idaho. And what happens when we get to our numbers are the worst in the nation now? Are they just going to continue to go down? This is baby steps. I like the direction the needle is pushing. I really do. But it doesn't go near far enough to protect our doctors, to keep them here, keep our hospitals open, keep OBGYN people in the state. And so I would like to hear the rest of the debate because I'm still undecided on this bill because, one, I like the very few things it's done, but I'd like to see a lot more. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the bill. Good lady from 18.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate against the bill?
Lady has the floor to debate against the bill.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments made thus far. We are in a 5-alarm medical crisis that is of this legislature's making. In the last 3 months, we've lost a third of the state's fetal maternal medicine specialists. Approximately half of this state's OBGYNs are now actively considering early retirement or leaving the state. For the first time in modern history, we cannot fill our family medical residencies because of the abortion law that's on the books. This law that is before us fixes absolutely nothing. In fact, it actually makes it harder for rape and incest victims to get an abortion. It does this this supposed fix of switching it from an affirmative defense to an exception, but it leaves everything. It leaves criminal liability. Now, doctors are used to practicing under the threat of civil liability. They're used to operating under the threat of medical malpractice, and that alone is pretty daunting. But never have they had to practice under the threat of 5 years in prison. Never. Why in the world would any doctor come here or move here when they could go to any state where they don't face prison time? It is ridiculous. We are frightening people out of the state. It is an unsafe place for women to live. I would not encourage my daughter to come back here either. This bill leaves all of the problems in place and actually exacerbates, as I said, the access problem for women who have had abortion, who are victims of rape and incest. They still require police reports. There's still $20,000 lawsuits against doctors. There's still, again, prison time for doctors. There's no health exception. There's barely a life exception. There has to be 100% chance of death for a doctor to act. 50-50 chance of death is not enough. Apparently there was a consideration of treating life-threatening emergencies, but that language was deemed unacceptable for this bill. The notion that by adding ectopic pregnancies, that's been the law for 6 months. For 6 months since the Supreme Court ruled. They said that ectopic covered pregnancies and performing abortions in those situations does not expose you to criminal liability. That's been the law for a long time. Simply putting that on paper, we know will not solve the problem. That's been the law for 6 months. Doctors are fleeing. Hospitals are shutting down their OBGYN services. If this is supposedly the fix, then the women of Idaho are in real trouble. And frankly, I don't want to be a part of a charade that fixes nothing. So I hope you'll vote no, but I'm not going to be.
Hey, good ladies, for the debate on the motion, good lady from 15.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate the bill?
The lady has the floor to debate the bill.
Thank you. In the short time that I've had to review this bill and speak with people from not only my district, but people in the field, I'd like to remind everybody that there were many people that had input into this bill, and while it doesn't fix everything, it does fix parts of it, and they feel like it is a step in the right direction. And that's what we're asking for right now, is a step in the right direction. And we've said many times in here there's no perfect bill, but this is a step in the right direction, and they are so happy that we're moving in that direction. And with that, I can support it. Another thing that we keep hearing is, hospitals are shutting down. But there's so much more to that. If we don't have pediatricians to take care of children after the babies are born, it's really difficult. So it's not just OBGYNs. There's a lot of things that are preventing doctors from coming to Idaho and medical providers from coming to Idaho. So I would challenge that fallacy to go a lot further. And that's not what this bill is about. So Anyway, with that, I'll be giving it my green light.
Thank you, good ladies. Further debate on the motion? Gentleman 12.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, good body. Just a couple of
Someone
comments.
debate the bill?
Yes, thank you.
Anybody
To
for
debate in
debate
favor of the bill. Just a couple of comments. The majority of this body would claim to be pro-life. And it's one thing to run on a pro-life platform when you're pre-Roe v. Wade being overturned. It's another thing to deal with post-Roe v. Wade being overturned and what that legislation is going to look like. So I wanted to say, first and foremost, thank you to Representative Young and Representative Crane for his work on this since the beginning of session. This is a lot of work. They brought the IMA to the table. They brought Right to Life of Idaho to the table. Idaho Chooses Life to the table. Many, many people have weighed in on this legislation. It's been very vetted. Is it everything that everyone wants? No. And are we done? No. There's more work to do, and we know that. But as Dr. Casper said in the hearing today, the big thing for the medical community is that it removes the affirmative defense, and that was something that really helps them out as medical providers. So I'll be voting in favor of this bill. Ask for your green light.
Further debate? Gentleman from 4.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and to agree with my good friend here from 12. This was a very, very difficult bill. I struggled with it, and it is obviously a very emotional bill. I had some religious misgivings with it, and I know how much work was put into this bill by the many participants, the IMA and the good lady from 30 and the gentleman from 13. It's not perfect by any means. I know there were many issues left to be addressed. I don't want to say it to some extent it kicks the can down the road, but we have to get something done now, and this bill does that. It provides some definition to some medical terms that needed to be included, and I'm glad that they are. And recognizing all the work that's been done here, I think we need to move forward on this. I am fully in support of it, and I urge everyone to vote yes on this bill.
Thank you, gentlemen. Further debate on the motion? Hearing none, would the good lady from 8 care to close?
Well, Mr. Speaker, there's a little bit of me that doesn't feel like I need to bother at this point, since all of those who debated against the bill have left. So I would like to point out some falsehoods that were asserted in debate. Doctor recruitment as an issue was not created by anything in this legislation. We're here to debate the bill in front of us, not existing law or existing conditions. It's the bill in front of us. None of the bill in front of us has any impact on doctor recruitment except for the provision where it removes affirmative defense, which is something that the Medical Association and doctors asked us to change. It was on their lists of things that they thought could improve their situation. It was also asserted that we were afoul of EMTALA. That is not accurate. There has been no decision made on that. There was also a claim that this bill would force people to carry dead bodies or non-developing fetuses to term. That is, in fact, false as well. If we can reread the definitions that are on page 1, the exceptions to an abortion are the removal of a dead unborn child, the removal of an ectopic or molar pregnancy, or the treatment of a woman who is no longer pregnant. The reason that I bring that up is because there's a very serious definition for what pregnant means within existing code. That's already within code for reference. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't feel like I need to belabor the point. I would appreciate your green light.
Thank you, lady. Debate's closed. Question is, shall House Bill 374 pass the House? Clerk will unlock the machine. Members will cast their votes. Has every member voted? Durant? Does any members wish to change their vote? Clerk will record the roll and report the pairs.
Crane 13 votes aye, Chu votes nay.
59 ayes, 1 nay, 10 absent and excused. Majority having voted in favor of House Bill 374. House Bill 374 is passed the House. So correction to title.
No correction to title.
Hearing none, the title is approved. The bill will be transferred to the Senate. The House will now return to the 11th order of business. Third reading of bills and joint resolutions. The House at the 11th order of business. Good lady from 8.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to hold the remaining bills on the third reading calendar for one legislative day.
Unanimous consent has been requested. Is there objection? Hearing none, so ordered. Without objection, the House will now advance to the 14th order of business. Presentation of petitions and communications. The House is at the 14th order of business.
March 27th, 2023. Dear Mr. Speaker, the House Education Committee has received and reviewed all omnibus, non-fee, omnibus fee, pending fee, and proclamation rules from State Board of Education, State Department of Education, and Vocational Rehabilitation. It is the recommendation of the committee that all the omnibus, non-fee, omnibus fee, pending fee, and proclamation rules be approved in their entirety. Exceptions. The committee also received and reviewed omnibus, pending fee, and pending fee rules for the State Board of Education, State Department of Education, State Board, and State Department of Education, and recommends all be approved with the following exceptions. Docket number 08-0111-2201, 08.01.11, registration of post-secondary educational institutions and proprietary schools. Specifically, the committee recommends approval with the exception of Section 200.03.A, docket number 08-0204-2201, subsection 08-0204, rules governing public charter schools, and 08-0301, rules of the Public Charter School Commission, of which the committee finds do not be consistent with legislative intent and recommends they be rejected. Respectfully, Julie Yamamoto, Chairman, House Education Committee.
The Education Administrative Rule Letter will be filed with the Chief Clerk's office. Without objection, the House will now return back to the fourth order of business. Consideration of message from the Governor of the Senate, the House at the fourth order of business. Good gentleman from 35.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask for unanimous consent that the House do now concur with the Senate amendments to House Bill 286.
Good gentleman, would you like to explain what those amendments are, please?
Yeah, 286 was the bill dealing with truth in advertising for taxing districts, and the amendment just eliminated the part with that restricted the inclusion of additional information. Our good friend over, oh, he's here, would be on board with it because now he doesn't have to put them on two pieces of paper in the envelope. Now we can put it on one piece of paper.
I just like magic, he's back. You've heard the unanimous consent request. Is there objection? Hearing none, then the House does now concur with the amendments to House Bill 286. House Bill 286 will refer to the Judiciary and Rules and Administration Committee for engrossing. The House will now advance to the 15th order of business announcements. The House at the 15th order of business. Good lady from 32.
Personal privilege, Mr. Speaker.
Lady has the floor.
First off, I was wondering if we could take up a collection for the Senate to possibly buy them an electronic voting system, but But my real personal privilege is I understand that the good representative from District 16 has a birthday today, and I understand the good gentleman from 35 and what's your number? 27 would be happy to sing happy birthday to her.
I was hoping the rabbit from 26 would.
So if we could put the House at ease so these two could sing, that would be great.
House be at ease.
Mr. Speaker.
Gentleman 26.
Just very briefly, I do want to note that she was hoping all day long that this was not going to happen, so I'm very pleased that it is.
Well, I just want to see this solo. House it at ease, good lady.
Where is she? She's right here.
Oh. I kept looking for 16. English only. Wow. All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sonia. Happy birthday to you.
And many more.
I didn't know there was choreography.
Glad I got that off my head to do today.
Now that we've thoroughly embarrassed her, the House will be back in order. We're going to ease the House of 15th order of business. Are there further announcements? Hearing none, clerk may read.
House Revenue and Taxation Committee will meet subject to call of the chair. Monk's chairman. House State Affairs Committee will meet Thursday, March 30th, 8:30 a.m. East Wing, Room 40, Crane 13, Chairman.
House will now advance further announcements. Hearing none, the House will now advance to 8th order of business. Adjournment, the House at the 8th order of business. 16th. It says 16th.
Math is hard.
The 16th order. The House will now advance the 16th order of business. Adjournment, the House at the 16th order of business.
Do you want to recognize me?
It's time to go. Get ready for me.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm going to move that because we are so efficient that the House adjourn until 10 a.m. Thursday, March 30th, 2023.
Thank you, good lady. Good job, 26.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I enthusiastically support that extra hour. So I very enthusiastically support that motion.
All right, you've heard the motion that the House do now adjourn until 10 a.m. tomorrow. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. Motion passes. The House adjourned until the hour of 10 a.m. Thursday, March 30th, 2023.